What's going on, guys? My name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to a new World of Tanks video, and today I would like to give you now my first impressions of the ST2 on the live server after 23 games I've played today and yesterday. I've played some more games during the 7 vs 7 Clash game mode, but yeah, that's about it. We did 23 games. We are right now looking my first game I had in this very new behemoth. And it was a very interesting game. It was on the map Shuzianki, as you might see, and we are going to talk a little bit about the game, about the tank in general, what are its strengths, what are its weaknesses. When you want to know more about those tanks' grind, then let me know in the comment section below, and remember to subscribe, because I am trying to think about doing something like this as well, as I grinded through the IS-22 stock, and I grinded through the IS-32 with only 3 XPing the turret, because I do want to see how do those tanks feel. Are they well balanced or are they not? Well, the ST22, however, the ST2, not 22, obviously, I'm a little bit used to the name of the IS-32 and the IS-22. No, the ST2 obviously has the big 440 alpha gun. Here I, however, made a tiny little mistake. I was thinking at the beginning that I would have showed my lower plate, but nope, it was the cupola. And this is already one of the first major things you will notice. If you do not play properly in this tank, like in a hold down position, your cupola is going to be one heck of an annoying thing to fight against. Also, don't forget that heat rounds are the bane of your existence. As you can see, we got 2 shots into the very big cupola from same tiered tanks and then heat rounds through here, and that's generally how this game goes with the ST2. Keep in mind, its armor is actually, it's decent, but it's nowhere near what you would expect for as such a sluggish tier 10 vehicle. Because here comes the big problem in my personal opinion, and I already thought about this during the test server, where I was like, yeah, I think the IS-32 is better because it's more maneuverable and has almost the same DPM. But now let's look at this awesome shot which I almost missed onto the Progetto. That is obviously the amazing feeling about this tank. You have 880 alpha with the double shot, which is perfectly cool. But again, you're like, most of the times you can't really use it. Like, I noticed, and if you wish, I can also make a video about my things I noticed on how to play those double-barreled guns. But one thing I noticed, that usually you should only use that double shot when you know that you can't squeeze out another shot. Like, preparing a double shot takes you 2.5 seconds, and you have 880 alpha in theory. If you do not do that, you have 5 seconds in between. You have one shot and then you have another shot. So usually when you only have a small gap of shooting at an enemy, always go for the double shot. Again, in such a situation with the crossing of the Progetto, it's a very good thing. And that is great about the ST2. Same goes for its gun handling. The gun handling is superb. Like, I can't stress enough how great it feels to have a Russian heavy tank which is decent at gun handling and gun depression, and as far as I know, it's the first Russian tier 10 vehicle on the heavy side which has 8 degrees of gun depression. I know for medium tanks we do have the K91 which has 9 degrees over its sides, but this one right here, very good. Here you could see that I decided against the double shot, even though right now I did a second shot in my reload, because I didn't want the Progetto to die. So in the end, it would have been better to use the double shot, I think. But it worked out fine, so we are happy with that. But and here you can see I was trying to search where I could hit the Object 140. I really hit him, it was a track, but that's about it. In the double barrel guns, you obviously cannot have anything like a tank gun rammer. So I am stuck here with vertical stabilizer, coated optics, and vents to have the best possible outcome for my tank. I'm not using rations at the moment because, quite frankly, I just want to see how this tank performs without try-harding too much, like using premium rounds, etc, etc. Speaking about premium rounds, I heard a lot of people were like, yo, Raging, does this tank be good for clan wars or competitive gaming? Sadly, I have to say, no, this is not the case, because the tank sadly lacks penetration in the premium rounds. 310 is not enough. Not enough in a meta which is literally always 9279s, Object 268 version 4s, and so on and so forth. And here you can see the strengths of these two guns. If you miss a shot, it's not really big of a deal. You can have another one ready. You can get double taps. You can get quick kills after another. So that is pretty cool about this gun. And obviously here I got very lucky with the shots I'm hitting, but we are almost at 5k damage. One thing I sadly noticed about this tank being very frustrating to play when you want to shoot or when you get shot at by HE or artillery. All three tanks in the line, the IS-22, the IS-32 and the ST2, they all have the issue of really not liking artillery or HE spam. I'm going to show you the armor model in just a minute of the ST2. And that is, in my opinion, a big issue, because this tank is slow. This tank is very slow. It is not as fast as the tier 9 vehicle. The tier 9 vehicle has 2 HP per ton ratio better, while this one right here is stuck with, I think, 12, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, what did we got for that game? Let's jump over to the post-game stats. So again, this was our first game. We got the pretty decent medal right there. 5,269 damage. Obviously 69 perfect. And we got 10 crits. Again, it was a good game and we were lucky with our snapshots. The gun handling, but it is very good. The gun handling is very good. The accuracy is okay. Could be better. Could be 430 level. But then again, that would be unfair because the 430U is an unfair tank. But you could see 5,269 damage, 4,000 damage by the animal guy, and we did a pretty decent job, as you can see, 18, 16, and 13. And interesting enough, we sniped 3,200 damage almost, but we didn't really bounce that many shots. So now, what is it with the armor model? You want to see that, right? That is the armor model of the ST2, and there are so many things bad about it and so many things which are really annoying about it, to be honest. Now let's just quickly get lost off the tracks. And again, I'm solely want to look at the ST2 by itself, not comparing it to the IS-4, etc, etc. Because the first thing you will notice is there are a lot of 30mm armor plates. Those 30mm armor plates mean that people can shoot there with, for example, artillery, with HE, and just make you sad. I can't say it differently, it makes you sad how much damage you get from HE shells. In the tier 9 vehicle, I got from an Object 430 220 damage up to my face while I was playing hold down, because right underneath the turret is a 20mm armor plate, which makes it so easy to do damage on those vehicles. The same goes, look, 30mm all over, 30mm all over. I had an FV-183 which was shooting Hesh, and he hit down here underneath my tank and dealt 860 damage. That is something very frustrating for something you can't even try to bounce. And this is the same problem I have with this tank with artillery. Artillery also tends to do a decent chunk of damage on this vehicle, and in my opinion a lot of damage as well. And the issue is you are not fast, you are huge, you have a huge turret with 30mm roof, you have a side or the rear armor with 30mm, and that just hurts when RT is focusing you. Plus you lose a lot of crew members, you have 5 crew members, and it's not rare that you lose 2 crew members in quick succession because of artillery fire. The armor on the other hand, it's not that bad, don't going to expect to bounce anything with the lower plate. You can bounce some things with the side armor, but the side armor are not as good as the one on the IS-4. Those plates were slightly buffed compared to the ST2. And the cupola, you saw it, the Object 277 didn't have any issues penetrating it with AP rounds if we are standing level. As soon as we are using 8 degrees of gun depression, it's a whole different story. And here we have the big issue in my opinion. Yes, it has great gun depression, but the sluggishness of this vehicle just makes it almost impossible to get into a good position. And that's just very, very frustrating, in my opinion. Those are all the 30mm plates. Just to keep that, or give you that in your mind. Here, down here, 30mm. For example, if you try to drive over a hill, I think every single tier 10 gun in the game should be able to detract you with damage. Because you have this 30mm plate. That hurts. That genuinely hurts against normal rounds and against HE rounds. So now let's quickly jump into the last section of this video where we go into my garage and I'll just show you some more things about this vehicle. So here we are in my garage. Finally, here we have the ST2 and I quickly have to decline all of those so you see what we can see. 12 HP per ton ratio. That is bad compared to the almost 14 of the IS-32. I just want to say again, the IS-32 does feel, in my opinion, a bit more convenient than the ST2. Interestingly enough, even though I played 23 games in the ST2, I have a very good DPG. 3300 is something which I strive to get in most tier 10 tanks, but it's actually better than what I have in my Object 279, even though the 279 is much, much stronger. You could say that I'm shit at the 279, which you are correct. Or you could say I'm very good at ST2, which you are not correct. But yeah, in general, it's one of the tanks which I actually have a pretty decent DPG in when I compare it to tanks with similar games. Okay, for 30 euros, roughly the same. So just to put that into a little bit of perspective. However, after now playing these 23 games, I have to say, Wargaming did a well job in balancing this vehicle. I do not feel that this tank is overpowered or something which is very, very bad for the game health. I never really felt like in a 279 where, for example, in the 7 vs 7 game mode, I just ruffle stomp over most people because they can't pen me with amazing gun handling and a great DPM. So that is well done by Wargaming. However, I do think that the IS-32 just feels much, much better. I even would say that if Wargaming would give the IS-32 300mm of turret armor frontally, it might be a better tier 10 tank than the ST2, even though the ST2 is much more iconic. The whole issue lies on that in the IS-22 you have mobility, in the IS-32 you get more armor, more gun depression, a smaller cupola, more alpha, you get so much more. And you have great DPM, still you have great mobility, and that's the point. You have great mobility. So the ST2 comes here being much slower. Yes, it has better armor, it is better suited for side scraping, it has more alpha, and it has more standard pen. But it's just such a little change. It's really, really not that much difference. Seriously, 30 damage more. I know Wargaming can't give the ST2 more DPM because then the IS-4 is almost completely useless. But I simply don't think the grind was worth it because the IS-22 was a huge surprise. How cool it feels, like how genuinely it feels. It's a nice feeling. The IS-32 was, I knew it already was good from the stats, but it felt even better. And now we have the ST2, and it just feels meh. It genuinely feels meh. And I do think Wargaming could do a slight buff by changing those 30mm plates. If Wargaming decides to change those 30mm to like 40mm or even 50mm, which I might not think will happen, it would be much more convenient to play because the amount of artillery which shites on your head and HE which gets spammed in your face, it's very, 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 very frustrating to play. But yeah, that is my first impression of the ST2. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. If I get 50 games in this tank, I'll probably think about doing a tank review. Let me know if you would like to see that. I hope you enjoyed such a video, and if so, let me know in the comment section below. One thing I actually didn't mention yet and I still want to do, turret traverse. Garbage. Absolute garbage and sluggish and slow and annoying. But yeah, that's the ST2 for you. The The IS-32 is, in my opinion, a better tank tier for tier and is more fun to play than the ST2. However, the ST2 is not overpowered. It's not underpowered either. It has some things going for it, especially the 8 degrees of gun depression. But lastly, it just feels very underwhelming, especially against artillery. My name is RagingRaptor. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers, guys. Have a wonderful day.